Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Business Over Brew podcast. I am your host today. My name is Ellie. Today, we are sitting down with Events and Catering Director Meredith Beck with 612North Event Space and Catering. Meredith, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about doing this with you today.
Good. Okay, good. I'm excited too for us. So I always like to start off the show kind of like a little icebreaker, but we're not asking you what's your favorite color.
Yeah.
But if your business were to be a movie or maybe a TV show, what would it be? And maybe give us a reason as to why.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm thinking that, most likely it's a combination between 27 dresses, of course, because
Oh
we are
my
definitely in the special events industry and like 80% of what we do is bookings,
God.
but probably a less chaotic coupling with the new Hulu show, The Bear. I mean, we
Oh
do
my
catering,
God.
we have full kitchen service, and sometimes things get heated back there in the kitchen. And as long as our clients don't know about it, it's all good, right?
Exactly. No, I'm the same way. Like sometimes like I'll pick up serving or bartending shifts and it's like as long as the people in the front are good, we are gonna be okay.
Exactly.
I love The Bear on Hulu. Like
Yeah.
a great show for anybody to watch. Like you could easily get into it, but those are really good answers.
Thanks.
So my next one is what is like the soundtrack to 612 North? Like what do you when you think of, you know,
That, yeah, I mean, the soundtrack for us, gosh, I love a good like 90s cocktail hour playlist, right? So like all of our old like Always Be My Baby Mariah Carey and like
love
upbeat
it.
kind of in love music. Throw in some like Love on Top Beyonce and just kind of rolling with
Yes.
that like positive, happy, feel good in love music for sure here at
Yes.
Six.
Oh my God. Absolutely. And you know that I will be scream singing those songs in the shower, in my car in the morning on the way to work. I
Yeah,
love it. Okay, so are you familiar with the What's in My Bag challenge, maybe on TikTok or Instagram Reels?
definitely.
Okay, so then tell us what is in your bag, your typical workday bag. What does it look like?
Yeah. So my workday bag has so many random things. I have items for myself, but almost like always are there items in there for client execution as well. So like I said, we do 80% of our business is weddings. So we have to have that kind of like day of survival kit. So I could open up my purse on any given event day and have like a protein stick for myself, like love a good beef jerky. That is totally my
Yeah.
my guilty pleasure. But then I flip and I look and I'm like, okay, here's a Tide pen and bobby pins that are not my hair color and all of like the mini hair rubber bands or safety pins in case, a dress isn't bustling. And so it's definitely hit or miss between like items for myself to get through those crazy 14-hour event days. But then we're always having things on hand to make sure that it goes smoothly for the client too. So
Oh
kind
my
of a fun
God.
mix and match in my bag for sure.
Yep. No, definitely. I mean, my bag is filled with just like you, bunch of random recording
Hmm.
equipment, random adapters to different computers.
Exactly.
It's insane and it is so unorganized. I probably should get one of those like bag inserts with all the like
Bag in a bag.
oh my God. But for some reason I just won't pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
Okay, well I love that. So like what really inspired you to get into the catering and events world? Or was that something you were always just had a passion and like an interest in? Or did something just come up one day and it worked out for you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a full circle girly in this story. So when I went to school, I actually started in public relations and like hospitality management, and I loved it. But my first job right out of college was in the nonprofit sector, which is like a beast of itself, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was working in nonprofit, I got to do a lot of fundraising events. So that was definitely in my wheelhouse and in my ballpark. But at the time, it was like, dude, I don't want to write grants and like beg people for money to do my job, right? So I ended up pivoting because the nonprofit that I was with was for a youth nonprofit center, actually on the other side of the river from where we're located in Alton, Illinois. And for that youth nonprofit, I learned that I really loved working with kids and like the risk population. But again, I didn't want to be like having to fundraise to be able to give those, that or those audience, those clients, like what they needed. So I pivoted and went back and got my master's in education. And I actually was a high school English teacher for, close to 6 years,
Nice.
and loved that. But there was always this like calling to get me back to what I initially went to school for, right? So pandemic hit, and it was a perfect opportunity to pivot a second time. And once things kind of died down and people were back in the party mindset, I came back to events and have been here ever since. And I
Totally.
joke all the time when I tell this story, right, Ellie? Because I'm like, I don't know who is more high strung sometimes, my high school students or my brides. So it's kind of
I
the
mean,
same field.
yeah.
And it's just people management and relationship management. And having to be organized and all of the things that kind of melt really well together between those two fields. So it's been great. I've been back in events for 4.5, 5 years now almost, and I just love it. I'm hoping that I don't ever have to pivot again, but you never know.
You never know. And like, I just recently graduated from Mizzou, literally in May. So this is the
Congratulations.
think of my career. Thank you. And I think a lot of young people, it scares them, the word pivoting and going from
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you were comfortable with to a completely new environment. And I think to anybody in any part of their life, like no matter what, pivoting is like you should do it because
Yeah,
I'm
for
big on
sure.
the universe. I'm big on like things are meant to happen, the way they play out. So I'm glad you brought that up though. But I love that you were an English teacher. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so now tell me how you like got in and started working with 612. And honestly, like I just kind of want the full story.
Yeah, so it's another really funny story. You're asking great questions this morning. So I actually interviewed to be like a on the floor, just an event manager for 612, probably about 3 years ago, and then never heard back, which was like a big surprise for me because like I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty good interviewer. So when I
Mhm.
didn't hear back, like not even a rejection email, I was kind of like, what the heck?
Yep.
And I ended up working for one of their competitors for a while, and did really well and learned a lot there, kind of like on the ground. It would have been my first wedding manager job, like outside of just like in the grand scheme of events, right? Like
Sure.
being in that niche. So it was really kind of beneficial because I got to go learn a lot from the competition. And then I saw that this venue had an event manager position open a second time, and I came in to interview. And I joke with, my boss to this day about it. I'm like, I came in for that interview, and about 4 questions in, he goes, you know what, hold on a minute. And he left the room and he came back and he goes, we're going to, ready for our keyword of the day, pivot really quickly. And we're going to do your interview now for the events and catering director. And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And
Wait,
he was like,
what?
yeah, we can just tell that like you have the experience and you know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
so pivot, right? Like answer all of these different questions about like leadership styles and management and how are you going to grow a business, and all of the things that I wasn't prepared to answer. And so I actually like froze up a little bit, left the interview, called my husband and was like, oh my gosh, Adam, there's no way I got that interview. I totally bombed it. You'll never believe it. And by the end of that day, I had an offer in my email inbox. So it
Wow.
was totally crazy. Started a couple of weeks later, have been here now for about a year and a half, and just absolutely love it. We're growing a really, really cool team right now just to combat all of the growth that we've had in business.
Yeah.
So I went from, kind of being a solo employee with just one sales manager underneath me to I now have 3 full-time managers underneath me, and then a full serving and banquet team and a full culinary team that I kind of get to manage. So we're definitely up and up right now trajectory wise. And it's just been a really, really cool year and a half.
Oh, well, that's so good to hear. And congratulations. Like those
Yeah,
successful. And it seems like you really are those like absolutely killing it. But at some
I do
point,
appreciate it.
you're welcome. But at some point, everything has to start with somewhat of a mistake. So there's got to be a time
Mhm.
where some unexpected misstep happened, but it ended up just completely working out. And it was honestly like the best mistakes ever happened. So please tell me about a time like this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can't say that it ended up being the best thing that ever happened at the end. But when I was thinking about kind of everything that I've gone through in the last year and a half, one of my defining moments actually came just a couple weeks ago. Part of, I think, being a good boss is being willing to just jump in and work wherever you're needed, right? And so
Mm,
I definitely carry this mentality of like, I'm never going to have staff members who I'm asking to do a job that I'm not willing to do. So there are
mhm.
lots of nights. Like lots of weddings, lots of events where I'm on the floor, I'm bussing tables, I'm doing those things. And just a couple weeks ago, we had a wedding where we were a little bit short staffed, around the holidays, of course. And the bride had told me that right after her cake cutting, she wanted to go into her first dance. And now I'm betting she's going to listen to this and probably be laughing at home. But I go to grab her cake, and the DJ did not give us like a minute to get the cake off the dance floor. And he had already started playing their first dance song. Their cake is in my hands. And here comes the bride spinning towards me. And I do my best to try and turn my body so she hits me and not the cake, and the cake doesn't end up on her. And she bumps into me, and just this moment alone, the whole cake went onto the floor. And I mean in
Oh,
front of everybody because it's the first dance, so everybody's watching. It's not like I could
oh wow.
secretly get away with this. The mom is like, "Holy S word, the cake!" So then now all 250 people are staring at me,
Yeah.
and it was so mortifying, so mortifying. But I think, I guess, if I had to shift that into like how it turned into a positive, is it was one of those moments where my staff got to see me be a human, but also be
Yep.
like, we persevere, and when things go wrong, you just have to like knuck up and deal with it, right?
Yep.
So ran into the kitchen, grabbed the cleaning supplies to get it off the dance floor, got it up, put it into the kitchen, immediately called their bakery and said, hey, like, thank God it was only a 1-tier cake. They had dessert for the rest of the night. Like, it was fine, but called the bakery and like paid for it out of pocket and just said, hey, I'm going to pay for their 1-year anniversary cake. Right. And so definitely made it right for the client. But God, I will never live that down. Like, as the person
Right.
who's been the fearless leader for a year and a half, never dropped a cake. And then this happened, of course. And so I'm
Oh
just
my.
learning that, it's okay to have those mistakes because there's definitely learning lessons in them.
Right. And it's like we do sometimes just get so tuned in to like our job,
Hmm.
like whatever's going on in that moment, you're so present where it's like, wait, I am a normal person. Like I am a human
Yeah,
being. We all do make mistakes, but oh my,
exactly.
I would do anything though to have like a camera crew on you and your team in
Uh,
the midst of all of your events. Like I could not imagine or doing like a little mic'd up session with your team would
yeah.
be would be great, honestly.
Yes, those TikToks where we see like the NFL players mic'd up on the sidelines and things like that. I'm like, guys, we could have you beat so bad. We would have 10 million more views than you guys for sure with what we
Oh,
all
I'm
say to each
serious.
other.
Like you guys should definitely start doing that. Those mic'd up videos, I mean, they're so funny. It's so funny.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I would love to know, what does a typical day to you look like? And before I even let you answer this, every day we get it. Like every day is so different. You have
Hmm.
like things put on your desk in the morning, and you maybe only get through like 2 or 3 of them. But I would love to know, just like, what does a day in your world look like?
Yeah, so there's two different sides to that question for us. I mean, like, we
Mm,
are here as a regular business operation during the week, and that's all of our like planning meetings, tours, selling the space, right? It's like continuing the clientele base and continuing to grow that. Something really unique about 612 is that we're not necessarily just the event space, right? We're catering
mhm.
as well. So every day we do catering drop-offs to different local businesses for lunch, and they place those order with us by 10 a.m. every morning. And so it's like, well, there I go, down on camera. Um, but it's one of those like where it's managing the business and the operations during the week, answering inquiries, getting those tours scheduled, selling the space, doing all of that. And then a regular business day on an event day is totally different. So that's like showing up and getting the space ready. It's,
Mhm.
checking off vendor deliveries and making sure that the florist is here on the right time, the DJ is set up, greeting the client in the bridal suite, pouring their champagne, making sure that they're ready to go. It's like catering to a lot of different components. And as much as I love being on the business side of things, nothing is ever going to replace a good event day for me. So it's just a whole different beast, but definitely fun to kind of be able to be on both sides of the spectrum there in this industry.
Totally, totally. And I was looking through the website, just doing, little
Yeah.
research, a little stalking, you could say. And I saw that there's a breakfast with Santa happening. So I would love to hear about this. This sounds so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So part of kind of our growth plan for 612 is to definitely enter kind of like the public event sector.
Yeah.
So we've had great success we host a Mother's Day brunch every year, an Easter brunch every year, a Father's Day brunch every year. And so this is our first annual breakfast with Santa. So we're really excited to get this one up and off the ground. It's this Sunday. It's going to be a really cool kind of just like family oriented event. Buy your tickets on our website. They're cheap, $29 to be able to come as an adult and bring your kid. And you get to come in for a photo with Santa, brunch, cookie decorating, Christmas crafts. Me as a mom to a 3-year-old, sometimes anytime I take him in public, I'm like, bring me the mimosas. There are mimosa packages you
Right.
can add on, right? And so we're just really excited about doing something that's a little bit more family oriented this time
Yeah.
around. So really excited about that one this Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can kind of come and go whenever you want, but you can get those
Yeah.
tickets on our website.
You guys, everybody go. That sounds like so much fun. I'm definitely going to have to send this to all my little cousins who are
Yeah.
obsessed right now with their elf, who's always doing mischievous things while they're sleeping. But
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, this Sunday, the 15th. Get your tickets online, you guys. It sounds like so much fun. Well, I hope it goes well. I can't
Thank
wait
you.
for all the pictures and the content online afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also wanted to talk about Laclede's Landing neighborhood and that growth for you guys. Like, I would love to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, so something that I'm really proud to be a part of here at 612 is we're really only just one brand of three that So Hospitality Group owns. So
Mhm.
we're really fortunate that our corporate office locations, all happen out of this business. But it's for 612, it's for Drunken Fish restaurants, and it's for Kimchi Guys restaurants. So our fearless leader, my fearless leader, Munsak So, owns all three, but he is also a part of like this really cool restorative project for the landing. So in recent news, we've got three loft buildings that are now at entirely full capacity, which means we're bringing, housing back down to the landing, which is really exciting. And that's all split between like residential stays. So like I see all the time, like college kids out walking their dogs to the Arch Park and like things like that, which is really cool to see coming back down here. But there's also short-term rentals for like all of the, Blues and Cardinals players. Some of the St. Louis City soccer players stay down here when they're on contract. And so that's bringing a lot of, additional business and like city focus to the area. Gosh, I feel like we just spent bajillions of dollars on floral and landscaping and like all of these really new cool string lights across the cobblestones,
Good.
and things to just really romanticize the area. And we're just really excited about the growing business. I mean, we've got new coffee shops all here down on the landing. We've got some partnerships with some other really cool restaurants that are coming in. A new barbecue joint just opened around the corner. So it's
Good.
just becoming a really cool hub again, which is
Oh,
really exciting because when I have clients come tour, normally I'm telling their parents, right? Like, remember when you guys used to come drink down here in the 80s? And I used to sneak down here in like 2015, 16, 17 when I was underage, and this was a safe place to drink. And so
yeah.
we're really trying to turn it back into a place, not for underage drinking, right? How shame on me,
Right.
but definitely like a place where people just feel really comfortable going, and that it can be this
Yeah.
like electric hub of business and growth and
Mhm.
expansion. So we're really really excited about it, and it's just like every day there's new opportunities down here. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we continue this really really trending upward slant on the
Yes. Yeah.
success here on the landing.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like I'm definitely gonna have to come and check it out because I love how you're like, we're trying to like make this the hub spot again, like the
Yeah.
go to, like what you were saying. I had so many great memories back in the day, and it was so fun. And
Hmm.
as time went on, things kind of got lost and things changed here in the St. Louis area. But I mean, this sounds like it could be pretty major.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really cool specifically for my building because we are the
Mhm.
closest building to the arch grounds. So if you did your research, like you said on our website, I mean, nothing but floor to ceiling windows on our fifth floor space of views of the arch. So we're completely unobstructed,
Mhm.
which makes it really cool for events, but it also makes it really cool just for this neighborhood. I mean, like when we talk about you had a dog, I have two dogs that we're out walking all the time. Like the nicety of just being able to take 10 steps from your front door and to be on the national park of the St. Louis Arch Grounds, right? Like it's just really, really cool. So
Yeah.
it's a really fun atmosphere, and we're just hoping that it continues to grow.
Oh, that's so cool. I love hearing it. And again, I will definitely be staying updated with this.
Great.
Might see me hanging out down there, but
Yeah, you'll just have to call me. We'll find some bars down here to do those
yes,
bad things
please,
beforehand.
please. So I kind of want to shift the conversation into a little bit about like marketing.
Yeah.
I would love to know what has the role of social media played for you guys in the growth
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean, it
business?
is huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. Like, even as somebody who, when I was first graduating college and I was in that kind of like public relations sector,
Mhm.
we did still focus a lot on like print marketing and print advertisement back
Yep.
then, right? And then, of course, as someone who went into English education, like, I live for print material.
Mhm.
But it's totally changed. The trajectory has changed, and it's, time to just get on board with that. So, we've recently seen some major growth in our business by really for us and like our industry and events, it's
Mhm.
mostly Instagram and TikTok, right? Like that's where we get most of our following and most of our like interaction and impressions. And it's not necessarily always have to be the business professional mindset, which has been really cool. So I feel like our audience is definitely transitioning from having to keep this really professional image, like we would still do on our website and like we would still do, of course, on our Facebook. But
Mhm.
like in our Instagram stories and on our TikTok, we get to be a little bit more silly. We get to like
Yeah.
show our clients what they're going to be working with personality wise. Because again, our clients are clients for a year and a half most of the time when planning a
Right.
wedding. And so we hear a lot that like people come in to visit us because of our TikToks, and then they stay and they book with us because they want to work with us as people.
Right.
And so that's really cool because we get to showcase that now on social media a little bit more. And that's kind of the marketing angle that we've been taking lately. It's just really showcasing our space and our team in a more laid back atmosphere.
And that's exactly like I'm just I'll say it, a chronically online person. Like, I feel like I eat, sleep, and breathe like campaigns from new companies.
Yeah.
Like, love that stuff. But I have noticed, like, within the past months, I would almost say maybe a year, it's less about being like an influencer and more
Mm-hmm.
seeing like behind the scenes. Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
you guys do before an event happens? Like, you're running around, you're rushing, you're making sure like everything looks perfect and is ready to go. And it is totally about like the personality of the team and of everybody
Yeah.
else. So, but I love that you guys are taking that route because I see a bunch of businesses doing it these days. And it's so true. Like, customers want to know who they're going to be with,
Mm-hmm.
who like they're going to be working with, like what you said, for a year long if you're planning a wedding or something like that. So I love that. And of course, duh, I looked at your TikTok and I definitely was I was cackling out loud. I was like,
Yeah.
funny. Like, I would repost this. Like, this is good stuff.
Well,
Uh,
we love to hear it. And I think there's something to be said too, kind of in tandem with what you're speaking to. But
mhm,
with businesses in general, across the board, I feel like everyone is struggling with retention, right? When it comes to
yes,
staff. And so I think kind of pivoting that spotlight to your employees and really showcasing them also helps in that back end, right?
yes,
And so if we are posting our team and we are constantly like allowing them to kind of take the spear hold of like their presence on social media and things like that, and just really kind of showing them how proud we are of them and trusting them with our public image. I think it helps with that as well. So
right.
hopefully all businesses can kind of take a page out of that book and just really start being more transparent and honest and
Yeah,
showcasing, the people who make the business happen. I think that's really
exactly.
important.
And to even add to that, it's like it also even gives people on your team or that you guys work with their own personal branding as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in all these TikToks and all these Instagram stories, like, you're also building your own individual online presence, which is like
Exactly.
also great. And it's not taking up your entire day. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do love to see that. And I know everybody online enjoys seeing behind the scenes, like, who actually is the president or the VP of this company. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
this guy, like, I love it. And it's also hilarious. I'd love to bring up Gen Z people are coming in, making TikToks with their bosses,
Yes.
and
Yes.
have absolutely not a clue what's going on. People are like, will you watch my boss for a second? Like, it's so comical. And it's
Yes.
so like universally like relevant across the board. So that is,
Yeah, I love that trend from a couple months ago, and we did it here, so you'll have to find it on our TikTok.
yeah,
But that like asking my boss hypothetical questions to prove how laid back they are, and it's one of those where it's like, again, you hire people because you trust them, right? It shouldn't always be this micromanagement thing, and I do believe in positive relationships between bosses and their employees, and I just think it's so cool that like I said, everybody's showcasing that on social media again.
totally. Oh my gosh, totally. Okay, so now maybe looking more into the future for you guys and your teams. Where do you maybe see the business in 5 years? Like,
Yeah.
where, like, what are your goals right now?
Yeah, my goals specifically are all going to be, focused around growth, right?
Mhm.
So we are very successful in the sense of what we do currently, and that is weddings and that is like corporate events.
Yep.
I want to grow in that public sector. So we're kicking it off, right, with that breakfast with Santa this
Oh,
weekend. But we're also brainstorming some kind of like repeat industry night happy hours. So I talked a little bit about our fifth floor space, which is nothing
yeah.
but those, windows and views of the city. We do have a really cool lower level space that used to be an old 70s jazz R&B club. So it's very
Whoa.
speakeasy, like kind of a dark, kind of like you need a passcode to get in vibe. And so we're kind of getting off the ground and rolling this ball towards if we were to do a weekly happy hour and honor different industries each night and kind of bringing in people from the city into this space to network or just to have that human connection again, post pandemic, and having that on a regular front. And then growing the catering business is huge to me too. So we're fortunate as a business to have our own catering option or operation in-house here in the building, but I want to be the catering option for all of the other venues in St. Louis that don't have their own kitchens. I want to be on their vendor list.
Yeah.
I want to be the go-to for the racetrack right across the river. We did a really cool 4-day catering for Penske Racing when they were in town.
Cool,
I
yeah.
want to deliver to the Blues every day. I want to,
Oh
all
yeah.
of that. And so we're really trying to grow that operation as well. And just overall see, great numbers at the end of each year.
Right. Totally, totally, totally. Okay, so you kind of mentioned like you would love to do some type of catering with like the Blues or maybe the Cardinals. Do you
Yeah.
have any collaborations in specific that you were like would cross your fingers for and be like, this would be epic?
Oh, for me, it's St. Louis City soccer. I was a soccer girly my entire life. I grew up playing here in St. Louis. You know, St. Louis Scott
Mhm.
Gallagher, shout out,
Yeah.
right?
Whoa, you were on
But
Gallagher
I
this
was a Gallagher girly, and that's kind of pretending like I'm young. I was a Metro FC, Metro United Gallagher girly,
Oh,
so I am old
yeah.
school for St. Louis soccer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that community. I think what they're doing in the city is really cool. You know, especially after we lost the Rams, giving us another team to cheer for is really cool. And I think just because my passion lies in that sport specifically, I
Mhm.
would love to be, you know, on their radar for catering and maybe doing some really cool like protein packed menu items and custom
Yeah.
menus for them and, you know, things, whether it's pre-game or just, you know, lunch for their business operations. That's kind of the partnership that would fill up both ends of my cup,
Yep.
professionally and personally.
Totally. And that's the best when you can get a little 2-in-1
Exactly.
situation going on. Oh, well, that would be so sick for you. I hope that happens. We'll speak it out into the universe. Like
Right?
that would be really awesome. Okay, so what advice maybe would you give someone that either wants to start a similar business or wants to get into the event space and catering and they maybe don't have the experience or they're just generally just want to give it a try? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think what's most important in this industry specifically is start small, right?
Mhm.
And when I say start small, maybe small is a poor word, start focused.
Sure.
I think there's such a broad range of services when it comes to events and catering. I mean, you can think of all of the vendors that go into, I'm going to speak to a wedding, whether it's a florist, whether it's coordination, photography, DJs or bands, photo booths. Like there's so much that is offered in this industry that I think you really have to focus in on what your niche is going to be when you start,
Mhm.
build that presence, build that following, and then branch out from there. So
Mhm.
I think just kind of really navigating your talents and your strengths and the service that you want to provide, establish that first and
Mhm.
then, you know, hit the ground running. And once you've got a
Yeah.
following, just grow and grow and grow.
Oh, well, that's great advice that you just gave myself and anyone else listening. Now, what's maybe the best advice that you have ever received?
Oh
And
gosh.
it doesn't have to be just centered around the business. It could just be in general, but like what has been some of the best advice that you were given that in times of, oh, oh God, what do I do? You're like, okay, we got it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak kind of to business advice. I think
Okay.
something that I learned specifically, and I don't know if it was ever an actual like quote, but something that I've learned as advice in this industry is that as a younger director and as somebody who's
Mhm.
younger in the industry, because we're in that transition, right, of
Mhm.
CEOs, of, you know, business leaders being younger
Mhm.
generations versus older generations. So I definitely had to learn to combat like just being the blonde girl who was coming into the millionaire's office and, you know, asking for things. And so I think what's really important is to come backed with fact,
Mhm.
and come backed with research. And like when you're arguing for something that you know and that you want in the business landscape,
Mhm.
being prepared to answer all of the questions and never take it personally, right? And so there are times where I have to kind of swallow my own pride and remember that I've only been doing this for X amount of years, and there are people
Mhm.
who are always going to know more than me or know better than me to lean on. But I also have a space there, right?
Yeah,
As long as I'm doing my research and I'm coming in with the facts and can, you know, back up my arguments or back up my asks. And I think that's really important to kind of gain traction and, you know, gain that respect in the industry or across the board. So
definitely. Definitely. No, I like that. That was good advice.
yeah,
That was good. That was really good. Okay, so kind of like wrapping up my last question.
yeah,
If you weren't in this space, and maybe I should say, if you weren't in the space and you also weren't thinking about going back to teaching,
there you go.
yes, maybe what would you be doing instead?
Oh, I am a lifelong learner. I
Yeah,
think like if there was ever a chance, because I'm a can't sit still girly. So like if
yeah,
there was ever a chance to be a professional college student, that would be me. I would just love to go back to school and just always learn different industries in general.
yeah.
I joke that if I were to leave this, I'd be going into medicine, right? Like
Oh
because
my
I think the
God.
human body and like human psyche and the brain is just like
Mhm.
really, really interesting. But pros and cons to everything. I can't handle the sight of other people's blood. My own, I am good. My own pain tolerance, great. Other people's, not so much. So there's always going to be
Yeah,
something for me that is going to be intriguing and interesting. But I think I'm good where I'm at for now, hopefully for the next 5 years.
so hopefully we're good for the next at least minimum 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy that you're like, I would go back and be like a professional student. me just graduating, I'm like, I am ready to
Give
work.
it a couple years,
I'm
Ellie.
ready to put my head down and just work. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do another homework assignment. That is so funny. Okay, so how can listeners that are listening to this podcast, whether they're listening on the radio or maybe through our website or whenever when you or I post it, how can listeners support you guys?
Yeah, I think give us a follow on social, right? Stay in tune with everything that we're doing, especially if you are just a member of the public that maybe doesn't have a need right now for a private event. But if you're a business operation or if you are a newly engaged bride, maybe you're throwing a baby shower or a bridal shower for a friend that's newly engaged, hop over to our website. We've got all of our information there, all of our pricing. Shoot me an email. My email's on that website, and let's just get connected and kind of see what we can do together.
Yes. And don't worry, like we'll have all of their information and contact info. We'll have it down below. We'll post it everywhere.
Great.
So don't worry, guys. You'll be able to contact and connect with them. Extremely easy. And then where are you guys located for people that maybe aren't familiar with the area?
Yeah, I mean, we are right down on the Cleves Landing. So depending on which way you're coming from, if you can see the arch and you can see what used to be the old Lumiere Casino, now Horseshoe Casino, you're going to find us. So we are at 612 North 2nd Street. Hint the name of our business, 612 North Event Space. We are that last building right before the arch grounds, really close to the metro station, so great for transportation purposes. But come on down, visit us, even come in for a walk-in tour. I'd love to have you guys in.
Oh, sounds great. Okay, and then do you have any last words of wisdom, anything else that you want to get out there before we end this awesome episode?
Yeah, I just think hustle, everybody, right? Like hustle, pick a dream, follow it, continue to work. Theme of the day, pivot if you need to. And I think just like really bring the hustle to whatever industry, whatever dream you're chasing. So, Ellie, I appreciate it so much. This has been so fun. First podcast in the books for me, right?
Yeah, dude, and you killed it. I told you it's not gonna be hard or stressful at all. Like we're literally just sitting here and I'm just picking your brain. Like
I love
this
it.
is great. Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Business Over a Brew. We hope you enjoyed. I had a great time. I think Meredith
Me
probably had
too.
a great
Me
time
too.
too. Great way to start off the beginning of a week. But yeah, until next time, I guess just like see you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.